Hello, everyone. I'm Sally, the special producer for the book club.
Yuambo, time flies, and another year has passed in the blink of an eye. On this occasion of the Spring Festival, I extend my sincere greetings to all listeners and book interpreters, wishing everyone health, peace, and smooth sailing in the new year. Speaking of the new year, every Chinese person has celebrated it since childhood. For me, it's been over 30 years in a flash. The Spring Festival has passed, but since about 20 years ago, it started feeling more and more like a routine. After starting university, during Spring Festival, besides visiting parents, I'd just sleep for 10 days straight or travel. But is there anything fresh about traveling anymore? Hmm.
At least, I can't think of anything right now.
All along, I've been wondering whether the reason is that the new year itself is dull, or if my senses have become duller over the years. If that's the case, what made me become duller? Following this question, I recalled two things that happened last year. The first was choosing a TV for the TV wall during the renovation of my own house this year. Originally, for the wall in the living room, I wanted to make a bookshelf, but my parents insisted on having a TV.
Since we had to install a TV, we needed to arrange the wall accordingly. I contacted a decoration company, and the boss took me to choose wallpaper.
The boss of this decoration company I hired is a post-90s generation, but his life experiences are close to mine as a post-80s generation, so we chatted quite smoothly along the way. As we talked, we ended up discussing the TV. The boss comes from a farming family, and thanks to his father working hard outside for many years, he moved up from construction sites to the decoration industry.
Now he has a modest-sized company.
When he was little, someone in the village earned money and bought a black and white TV, probably about 14 inches in size. The next scene is one that I, as a post-80s, have heard from my parents. In the early 1980s, TVs were still rare. To buy one, you had to pull strings and queue up, and it might take a year to get one. Once a courtyard had a TV, neighbors would gather around to watch, bringing their own stools like at an open-air movie, sitting around a box-sized screen, completely oblivious to whether they disturbed others' lives. Oh, the boss then said that he was super envious of that neighbor who bought the TV, and he made a resolution then to buy a bigger color TV when he grew up, to watch at home every day. So, over 20 years have flown by. TVs are indeed bigger now. 50 or 60 inches aren't satisfying enough. You can even buy 75 inches or larger, with much better picture quality. 4K and 8K resolutions are becoming standard, but he doesn't watch TV anymore. Neither do his parents.
He asked me, "Don't you think this is ironic?"
I said yes. My parents insisted on installing a TV purely out of habit. Their eyes are glued to phones now, endlessly scrolling every day. When they find something fun, they rush over to share it with me. Ah, shouted. So, my wall ended up with an extra TV that just sits there quietly, fulfilling its most loyal duty in this era. The second thing was snack shopping. Last month during an e-commerce sale, we bought dried fruits for New Year platters. My family, young and old, loves snacks, has sharp taste buds, and craves new flavors. But after scrolling Taobao forever, my sister sighed, "Why is finding something surprising so hard nowadays?" Looking at these predictably flavored dried fruits, I muttered helplessly, "Haven't tasted anything truly awful in ages." Gazu, I say this not because my taste is inverted, but out of lament. Potato chips, dried fruits, nuts, red bean paste, mochi, rose cakes, osmanthus candy. Why do they all taste identical now? As a post-80s, I remember childhood snacks having clear distinctions between delicious and awful. In the early 2000s, supermarket shelves carried 7 or 8 dried plum brands, each tasting distinct. I once bought 2 brands so bad I couldn't swallow them. But now, that experience is gone forever. Not just snacks, even instant noodles and ham sausages taste shockingly similar, like they've achieved cross-brand uniformity. This made me realize my fading New Year feelings aren't its fault. My senses have dulled. This dullness comes from material and informational abundance. But this abundance isn't richness, it's monotony. The abundance of information has monopolized me and my family through new information push tools. Moreover, the production of simpler and cheaper industrial foods has turned my taste and smell into dull tools that have lost the desire to explore. Speaking of this, I couldn't help but raise my head and look at the bookshelf in the upper left corner of my desk. From my first book purchase in 1995 to today, I've accumulated about 1,000 books, but I've actually finished less than a third of them, and even fewer were studied intensively. And since having more books at hand, my sensory experience of reading has greatly diminished. I remember when I first read a history book. The experience was very multidimensional. The first sensation was heat. It was late June 1994. My family was about to move to a new city, thousands of kilometers away. Everyone was busy emptying wooden boxes, packing daily necessities, and writing shipping addresses for train luggage with brush pens. That summer, northern China was exceptionally hot, reportedly record-breaking. Every day, my bare-chested father sweated profusely within minutes while packing and writing.
In one of those boxes, I uncovered a history book cover, a typical 80s design with cardboard flaps, about 600 or 700 pages thick.
I can't recall the exact title. It had a gilded character resembling Gao, unsure if high as in high school or higher education, with small text below.
What is World Ancient History?
As a 9-year-old, I didn't really understand. I just treated it as a storybook and opened to the first page, introducing the second sensory experience. Smell. That big wooden box had been stuffed in a corner for years, never seeing sunlight. The book was slightly damp, with wrinkled page edges, and when opened, a musty smell wafted out. On such a hot day, that musty smell was especially pungent, yet the book's content deeply captivated me. Skipping the preface and table of contents, I immediately arrived at the book's first story about primitive society, filled with terms like undeveloped, short lifespans, and survival struggles. Then a sentence suddenly jumped out. Tribes often warred, either executing captives or roasting and eating them. Roasting and eating them. Those 3 words became a significant childhood shadow in my heart. In 1990, there was a TV drama called Investiture of the Gods with the theme song Sunrise and Sunset, performed by Alan Tam and Mao Ah-ming. In its opening montage, there was a scene showing Mei Bo, a feudal lord or minister, who angered Daji and was subjected to the Pao Lo punishment. What is Pao Lo? In the TV show, it was depicted as a large bronze bell filled with firewood, with Mei Bo tied to it. Following the script, Mei Bo cursed the tyrant. Then King Zhu got furious and ordered the fire lit. Back then, watching this, I didn't yet grasp the horror of what was coming. Then came the special effects. After Mei Bo screamed in agony, his whole body turned crimson. Flames burst from his mouth and nose, leaving only a charred skeleton. Though it was cheap special effects, it shocked me so deeply I couldn't even close my eyes in time. Ever since, whenever Investiture of the Gods reran, I'd change channels during the opening credits because they included that pale Luo scene.
Thus, roasting, especially roasting people, gained a special place in my psyche.
Back to the book, reading Roasting and Eating Them made me feel the despair of those trapped in Pompeii, sending chills down my spine. Roasting was terrifying enough, but eating them, that must be utterly revolting. And my nose told me human roasting wouldn't smell like barbecue. It must be this musty odor I'm smelling. I wondered, wouldn't primitive people feel the same revulsion? Would they truly eat their own kind? I took this question to my parents, hoping the book was wrong, but they were too busy packing to answer. In 1994, this question bloomed and faded like night blooming cereus, leaving only one lasting effect. Ever since, whenever I read about roasting people, I can still faintly smell that musty odor. I remember this reading experience because it engaged all my senses to comprehend the text. Back then, With fewer books available, each one carried far more weight and life experiences. Perhaps this scarcity made my sensitivity and perceptiveness sharper than they are now. I wonder if our listeners have had similar experiences in their reading lives. Have you ever noticed changes in how sharply you perceive things? Feel free to leave comments sharing your stories and thoughts.